Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. I'm your host, Bob Walton-Spiel, hanging out with producer, co-host extraordinaire, Randy Walker. This week, the proprietors of Astronomicon, the founders, the managers, what I'm trying to think of more titles for you guys. We got Mike and Dustin in the house. It's been I think 8th year running now. Is this Astronomicon 9?
Yeah, this is number 9.
Astronomicon 9, and we are here. And you guys have lived to tell the tale. And this is I'm hands down my favorite con, and I can't wait to dive in. But you can find us online at itandthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Next week, Thursday the 16th, we will be at Detroit Shipping Company, 5 to 8. Find us upstairs. Grab a drink before you come upstairs, and we'll see you there.
No speakers, no cover, just a bunch of IT folks. Don't bring any business cards either. Do your little screen. Randy found out, do a little screenshot of your QR code from LinkedIn. That's the way to do it these days. Or get a dot card. I paid $20 for one of those. Tap on the back of the phone, you get all your contact info. Anyway, Mike, Dustin, it is great to see you, Mike. You're half the man you used to be. You look fantastic. Dustin, you're no slouch either, but Mike gets the trophy this year for looking the best.
I appreciate it. I'm trying. I'm just trying to keep up with all the beauty that's going on here at IT and the D.
Yes, sir. Still going strong. Astronomicon 9, I feel like you guys are getting better and you have to up your game every single year. I don't know how you do it. I need to tip my hat to you. Let's go back to the origin story when this thing started. For anyone that hasn't gone to an Astro or knows about it, how did this thing come to be? Let's birth Astronomicon 1. Take us back.
So I'll say from 2013 to 2016, the band that Dustin and I work with, Twisted, were guests at other conventions, from Walker Stalker to Days of the Dead to Horror Hound, and we went to a bunch of them as vendors and celebrities, and we left one day with Twisted saying, "We can do this." Jesus Christ. And so I looked at them and I was like, "What does that mean? We can do this?" And they're like, "Oh, you're going to run a Comic-Con." And I was like, oh, okay. Good luck to me. And we spent about a year between 2016 and 17 just researching conventions in the Metro Detroit area, in the surrounding states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Chicago region, just pulling little things that we liked from each one. And Dustin is actually the one who named Astronomicon. Got to give him all his flowers there. They were sitting in a room throwing out different cool names that they could throw the word con after, and astronomic and con just came to him and he said it, and we all loved it, and it was available, and now we have Astronomicon. So then we move forward with finding the first venue and really enlisting our friends in the business like Sid Haig, Bill Mosley. We got lucky and booked Ryan Hurst. We had wrestling, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and it was a really good first year. And then there were 18 inches of snow. And we're like, geez, oh, Pete, February in Detroit can be a wild card. And we rode that out for 3 years. And we did a show in 18, had 2,000 people literally locked into a venue that couldn't leave during a blizzard. Then we doubled our attendance in our second year. And then we added another 50% of our attendance, and we were the only Michigan convention in the year of 2020 before the pandemic. And I think, like you said at the top, that it is your favorite convention. We find that a lot of our core people who've been with us for years, people who haven't just discovered Astronomicon, they have the same thought, because we do have a different vibe than your cookie cutter corporate conventions that are held in massive convention centers. And I compare us to, like, we are the American League divisional series in the championship round, and then all those bigger cons, they can be the World Series. Go let them do them. We want to not lose our charm, the intimacy, and just kind of like, again, the vibe. And I feel like anyone can do a convention. You guys could leave tomorrow and say, hey, in 6 months, we're going to book a con and get celebrities and get a venue and do all this. But what you don't have is our vibe. And we are that special sauce that makes our kitchen different than all the rest.
Mike, so the thing that I always loved about it is it didn't have the Cedar Point lines. There was a little bit of a personality. There was most definitely a buzz. There was definitely a funk, a smell in the air, which is not a bad thing. I was making.
Don't you dare talk about the smell of our convention.
No, I think he means your favorite scent, Dustin. That green little.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what he meant.
The pot, the hoodie, the outside hoodie smell. Yeah.
Yes, my smell, the Dustin smell.
By the way, did you guys have a moment of silence that the Best Western on 15 and Van Dyke is no longer there? It's gone. They broomed it.
I drove by to go to Portillo's, and when I saw it was gone, I was like, "Oh man!"
I actually got in today and got upset when I passed by in my Uber, and I'm like, oh, it's all gone.
So let's go to that real quick before we jump into the actual con. Finding a new venue that can accommodate what it is that you do, which is unique. It's kind of like when I used to go around asking venues to handle pro wrestling events, and they look at you like you birthed a child out of your,
oh yeah.
Like how that you say, hey, we're gonna have this convention and we kind of do things unconventionally. Will you accommodate us? Like how many places do you have to go to get the yes?
Surprisingly, it's not as bad as you would think. We obviously have to do a lot of research before we walk in anywhere, because it's really about having enough space before I even pitch them what we do. The biggest concerns that we always have is like, they don't believe us, right? You see me and Dustin walk in and we look like we're fresh out of high school, right? Oh, you got two college guys who look like they're getting ready to go to a rock concert, coming in here and telling us that they're going to bring 10,000 people into our hotel or convention center. And they're just never prepared. So it always takes a year for them to be like, oh man, this guy knows what he's talking about. And they weren't lying.
Oh, it was going to be a good convention. Yes, we need. Oh, sure, yeah. And then second and third year, they're always like, oh, please come back to us.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So this year you're going to be April 10th through 12th at the Ann Arbor Marriott Ypsilanti at Eagle Crest. That is a long name for a hotel, but in Ypsilanti. Has following you guys online is probably one of the most funny things you can do as a human, just because of the questions. Does anyone go, why don't you have it closer?
No, my gosh.
But I guess once it's there, it's there. What do you guys? What's the canned answer for those?
You know what? You're never going to make everybody happy, and that's kind of where I can operate in twofold. One, I can be Astronomicon on social media, and I can give them the very professional PR, blanket answer of we'll work on that for the future, and then I can just go in there like Mike when they really rub me the wrong way and just kind of hit them with the smart ass answers like, why don't we do it in your backyard? You want to host it? You got enough toilets to cover 2,000 people every hour? It's just a joke, man. And at some point, again, I've learned that in the businesses that we're in, you're never going to make everybody happy. You just have to kind of have a goal and kind of work towards it. And people will either roll with the punches or they won't. And, as long as I leave knowing I tried my best, I'll be okay.
But I think that's what made you guys special too, was that you were actually accessible and you actually answered. There's no other con where there's the back channel that that gets answered promptly, that people feel part of the community, right? There's a lot of things that go into these things, more than just being Funko Pop vendors at a in a big hall, right? I think that's what people feel like. Not that they feel ownership to it, but there's a level of where it's like the people's con. I think, I don't know how else to phrase it. Am I giving you too
we're
much
definitely
butter?
For fans by fans, right? I agree with that. Everyone that's really into what we do, they kind of again, like you said, they buy into our idea and they're like, oh yeah, they listen to us and they care, and like, you can stop me running around like a chicken with my head cut off in the middle of the show. You can find Dustin 9 times out of 10 with that big green mohawk, and you can stop and ask us questions or give us tips or just tell us, thank you. But yeah, that is something that's different than most cons.
Yeah, and that's it's funny though, because like me, not a juggalo, love you, you're my favorite con. So it's funny because you hit, the horror movies, the wrestling, pop culture in general, and then like there's that juggalo component that like it doesn't. You thought it would overtake it, but it absolutely doesn't. But it's part of it, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like if you can find whatever something there that you're gonna like, at least in my
You
eyes.
have something there for almost everyone. And Bob, maybe you are a little bit juggalo and you just didn't know it.
Yeah, there is a tattoo on my back. You never saw it? Oh,
You know
like
what? I don't
Faygo.
have any tattoos, so you got me beat. Maybe you, is it a hatchet man?
I do, yeah. No, holding a Faygo. No, it's on my plan.
Whoop,
I
whoop.
have no tattoos. I was thinking about, now that I'm an old man, I think
I
about
have
getting
all
one.
the tattoos.
You also have a big green mohawk. I'm bald, so yeah, we can't go there.
Well, I would be bald if I could be, but too many of the people around here are like, if you shave that off, I'm done.
It's yeah, no, we wouldn't know it's you. Like no one would know. It's kinda like
Exactly.
we don't know. You don't know it's Mike now because he's skinny. So like everyone's gonna go. He's gonna walk past me like, who the hell? So
I'm trying to
how did you
blend in.
guys settle? So how did you guys settle on the? Is this your own personal thing, like the whole horror movie, wrestling, like, 'cause, it's very specific. Like most cons are like little generalists, or like some of them are like we like the old school '80s people. Did you guys just say, hey, this is the niche? Because there's other cons that like horror con and different ones, but like you say, hey, let's incorporate these 4 things. Is it just because you guys love it?
It truly is. It's what we're all into. Like, I'm not super horror. That's Dustin and Jamie and George. Twisted clearly is horror. I don't do horror. I know wrestling, and I know that there's a good crossover between Juggalo and wrestling. There's a good crossover between wrestling and horror. And again, we all love pop culture, like you said, Funko Pops. I mean, this year it's our 9th year, so we have some '90s flair, right? You got Dave Coulier, you've got Billy Zane, you've got John Kassir from Tales from the Crypt. I've got Pinky and the Brain. Like, we have some cool '90s stuff. We have Spencer from Ice 9 Kills. We have Reno 911. So we definitely were like, hey, let's lean into the number 9 and just figure some stuff out. But it's just really like there's so much crossover between those 4 genres that people just don't put 2 and 2 together or don't understand as well as we do, right? I'm not going to speak on anime. I love Youmacon. I love the Morgan who runs it and does all that. I just don't understand anime. So I'm not going to be like, let's infuse anime into Astronomicon. We stay in our lane and we just ride until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, that was one we got involved in that back in the day. Spoke on a couple panels and got drunk with John St. John, who was the voice of Duke Nukem. And so then, of course, all weekend I became Bob St. Bob as we introduced ourselves to people. Because I'm like, your parents must hate you. What an awesome guy! But yeah, that is definitely not my scene. So now that we're here and we're talking about it, you guys pulled off Cheech and Chong, man. Like I've never seen them anywhere. Was that just a phone call to an agent? Was that someone vouching for you? How did you pull that one off?
Well, in full disclosure, like when we started Astronomicon 1, I always said to the team, I said, I think my goal, like booking, is like the epitome of pop culture at the time is, to me, Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah.
We were never going to get Stan Lee. He was getting really old and he was doing less and less. But I'm like, Kevin Smith is the new, icon for the generic pop culture people, right? And it took us 6 years and we finally were able to book Kevin. And because we were able to book Kevin, it spawned into us also running his convention, which is Chronicon. And Tommy Chong had been booked by my partner, George, at a music festival. So George still had a connection to his son. So we reached out and we booked Tommy Chong for Chronicon. So then an agent that works with us, that works with Kevin, she starts booking Tommy, and then they introduce her to Cheech. So we're like, hey, we kind of laid some groundwork here to help get Tommy on board. You can get us Cheech. And so, they've only done, I think, 3 conventions together so far in their convention, travels right now. So we're very excited to have them because, you know what? I mean, everyone over the last 50 years knows who Cheech and Chong is.
100%. Dave's not here. Yeah. Let's go. So you brought up Kevin Smith. That's another one. Like Kevin doesn't. You don't see him doing a lot of the smaller. Like I would, no offense. This is a smaller regional
Mid-size.
show. Like it's not San Diego. Yeah. Mid-size. 100% mid-size. Getting him. We saw him once. I saw him at Windsor Comic Con. He did a night with Kevin Smith, and he did an open talk, and he went for 4 hours and didn't take a drink of water, didn't take a breath. I'm like, this guy's he's not human. He is absolutely not human. But I was lucky enough to meet him at the store at Jay and Bob's Secret Stash.
At the Stash, yeah.
Yeah. With Mike Zapsik was running it, and we ended up coming in there. And he goes, "Yeah, you want to meet Kevin?" And I'm like, "Don't bother him." And he comes out, and we took a picture with Buddy Christ, and it was a glorious day. But like, talk to me about working with him because he's definitely a unique human being. Like, there's not too many people like him on the planet.
No, and it's really cool because obviously, like me growing up in the late 90s and 2000s, like Jay and Silent Bob, right? Strike Back, Clerks was like a little bit early for me, but like Mallrats, Dogma, Clerks 2, just knowing like, okay, he is pop culture and they have characters and it kind of goes in line with the Twisted stuff. I was like, we should try for that. And it was right before the pandemic. He was like signed on to do one convention. And I was like, all right, he's going to do one. It's awesome. I'm going to see how it goes. And then I can go approach the agent and we can lock it in. Pandemic happens. And we had pitched some crazy stuff. We'll do a dinner with Kevin Smith where we'll do plated food. We can watch a movie. Like we'll do jerseys for all the fans. Like we pulled out all the stops to try to lock it in. And he just kind of was like, I think he felt overwhelmed by our enthusiasm. And it just kind of never went anywhere in 2021, 22. And then once he started back into the convention scene, we had built such a rapport with that agent. We were the first convention to ever have both clerks. Jeff Anderson's first convention ever was Astronomicon 2020. So we had Jay Muse. He'd been in a movie with Twisted. So there was a connection there. And it's just kind of like we laid that groundwork, bringing every single person in his orbit until we got to Kevin. And then it was kind of like serendipitous that was like, oh, you guys did all this? You guys did Chronicon. And I was like, oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, but so now I'm looking, not only that, I got to tell them my favorite story of Astro of all time is me and my friend. I probably told you this story before. We've told it in the podcast. Me and Eric Gutierrez are in the bathroom. How do I put this eloquently? And Scott Hall walks in, and he's leaving as we're standing at the urinals, and you just hear Scott Hall go, "Hey yo, you two are gonna have a dark match," and he turns the lights off on us. And we giggled like we were 8 years old. And we still tell this, like every once in a while I have to call him and just tell the story like, hey, hey, yo, you're going to have a dark match. And I'm like, what if, again, though, like, if anyone knows Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, like to me, that was like top 5, like ever celebrity encounters in the history of my life. Makes me laugh. Speaking of WCW legends, David Arquette's going to be in the house. I'm staring at right now my 4 Horsemen signed belt, including J.J. Dillon. And I contemplated having David Arquette sign it. I'm like, nope, not going to do it. I can't do it. I know he's screaming and everything, but getting him is a huge get too.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite movies is Ready to Rumble. So WCW, like that was the era. So having DDP and David Arquette, I'm like, this is so cool to me. So again, it's again, we put together what we think are really cool little packages for the fans, right? So if you're looking at like David Arquette, you've got Scream. So we brought Roger Jackson, the voice of Ghostface. Then on the other side, you have DDP and David Arquette for Ready to Rumble. Well, then if you go 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, DDP, Bill Moseley, and Danny Trejo are all in Devil's Rejects together. Danny Trejo and Cheech Marin are in, I think, From Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado together. And then you keep going, Cheech and Chong. Tommy Chong is in a bunch of the Kevin Smith movies. Danny Trejo is in Clerks 3. Like, it's a crazy little world that all these guys kind of end up seeing each other in. And I just think, hopefully all the fans are as into it as I am. it is what it is. Hope they all show up.
This might be contentious. My memory is going as I age. I'm convinced I gave Bill Moseley his first White Castle, and now as I follow him on Instagram and when he's at other cons, he seeks out White Castle. I want to take credit for it, and someone's gonna smack my hand and say, "No, you didn't do it." I swear to God, we were walking around with a Crave case, and he never had one. And then lo and behold, he's going nuts over these White Castles online. So you know what? I'm going to take credit. I'm planting my flag.
There it is. And you know what? He actually is the kind of guy who will walk around conventions. Like, when he's in town, he'll walk from his hotel places. And I do know, at least in years 2 and 3, maybe it was after he met you, he would walk to White Castle out there at like 15 and I want to say it was close to, it was on Van Dyke, probably 14 in Van Dyke. No, there's a White Castle.
13 in Van Dyke. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he would go there and he would still get White Castle. So you might be right.
I'll take credit for it regardless.
God knows what you did to his toilet.
Oh, exactly. Well, I mean, knowing the Best Western, that place was a place a dumpster fire anyway in the bathroom. By day 2, Dave Coulier, you don't hear about him going to cons. I know he's a local guy and he always sticks his nose and stuff, but that was a cool get. How did you talk to me about how you pulled that off?
So he did he did a MegaCon where it was like, him and Bob Saget and John Stamos, and they did one and they were like, oh, okay, this was cool. And then they just didn't do any more for a while. And then he would pop into a show once every couple of years. And our PR person, Jason Brown, is friends with him because of the Red Wings alumni stuff. Because obviously Dave is a huge Red Wing enthusiast and an advocate, ambassador for the Winged Wheel. And so he's like, hey, I could reach out on your behalf if you guys want him for your 90s show. And I was like, absolutely. And I also tried to book 2 other guests from Full House that just didn't play out, due to scheduling conflicts. But I just think that we love Michigan natives coming to our show because, again, it's like that hometown, like hero vibe. And he's bringing Mr. Woodchuck with him. So make sure you get a picture with Mr. Woodchuck.
I was going to say, at least don't bring the Olsen twins, because I think they were born on a different planet. Have you seen them lately? They definitely got like
there were ones that I reached out to.
Right, good. I'm going down this thing now. Oh, see, now Roger, I did not know there was a voice actor. That was Roger Jackson. I had no idea.
He's the voice actor who's like the Hello Sydney, and he also is the voice of Mojo Jojo on the Powerpuff Girls.
That's bizarre. That's kind of like the guy that we interviewed a long time ago that did the voice of Lionel for Thundercats. And then you come to find out he's the voice of Skittles. He was the voice of VH1, Best Week Ever, and he was Count Chocula back in the day, and like just the list of stuff. Like all these guys, they do so many different things, and it's funny. All this thing we're talking about, and we don't even say a word about Mick Foley being in the house. Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack. How many socks does he give them out? Because I remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan used to have his own 2x4s to sell. Is he like, does he bring his own socks, or do you have to bring?
I think Mick Foley does have his own Mr. Socko that he will have a baker's dozen with him. Hopefully he doesn't pull it out of his pants every time like he did in the wrestling world. But I mean, our wrestling lineup has always been something we've been really proud of. Mick Foley, DDP. We have Cross and Scarlett, who were previously with the WWE up until, the tail end of last year. Obviously, Paige, Saraya, Powers of Pain. If you're an 80s, early 90s wrestling guy, we have the Brooklyn Brawler, who will also be Doink. Paul Ellering, who's the manager of the Legion of Doom. Like, it's a really solid 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s wrestling lineup, no matter what era you were a fan.
In the mid 2000s, my buddy Mark, you've met him, the giant human being Mark. He was delivering furniture for Art Van, and he's knocks on a front door, and the Brooklyn Brawler answers. He's like, "Oh, hello, sir. I have your furniture." And he's like, "You'll never guess who I just delivered furniture to." I'm like, "That's hilarious." I do got to give a shout out to probably the nicest, all these years of me doing this and meeting people and going around, the nicest human being, hands down, I've ever met in my life, Rob Paulson, the voice of Pinky and the Brain. I met him at one of the cons, and then he did a TED Talk, and I interviewed him backstage at the Masonic. if you've never spent 2 minutes with him, like literally the nicest human being you've ever met in your life. Like again, that's awesome that he's here. By the way, I can't wait to see him and say hi.
Yeah, very excited. I've been trying to book those two for 3 or 4 years, and it just hasn't lined up. So very
Well, they're
excited to
together.
include
I
them
didn't
this
even
year.
just notice they're together.
Yeah, Pinky and the Brain.
Ah, the best part about him is he will just flip into voice when you're least expecting it, and you're just like, oh my god, do it again. You know what I mean? You get brought back to your 8 years old again. I think to us, that's the best part about it. I see the memes all the time. The best part about adulthood is being able to afford the shit you couldn't buy when your mom said no to when you were a kid. The GI Joe aircraft carriers one. There's I end up buying something stupid at every one of these cons. I gave a Shogun Warrior Boba Fett I bought for my buddy. I bought it for myself, and I'm like, you know what, you'd appreciate it more than I would, and I gave it to him. I always find myself buying something really stupid at these things, and that's good though. Let's talk about that real quick. The vendors. How do you get this not to be a Funko Pop mall? Because it's inevitable. And
So
do you try to curate and
it's
say, don't
tough
bring that, bring
because
this?
we try to vet them all, right? So I
Yeah.
do ask that every vendor that applies sends us photos of their booth so that I don't have every booth looking the same. And we've got a nice variety of everything. You've got artists who different kind of art. One of our friends, Amanda, she does really cool skateboards and saws. Terrence Muncie will do digital art and drawings. And who else do we have? We've got the art of Dave Brown Jr., where he'll contour a lot of the art to the show. So if it's horror, he'll bring horror art. If it's Chronic Con, he'll bring Kevin Smith based art. So we'll have some good artists in the mix. We have different cosplayers, right? We have the Ghostbusters. We have the finest G.I. Joe. We've got Disfusional Studios, who's an award-winning cosplayer. So we have that for the kids to like dress up and stuff to make it, again, it's more than just going to a swap meet with celebrities. Like, it's an experience for a whole day or a weekend. And then with the vendors, we try to have a variety, right? I'm a vintage toy guy. So if you have LJN Wrestling or Hasbro Wrestling or Jack Pacific Wrestling, like, that's where I live. So we try to have one or two vendors, because at the end of the day, right, we're still collectors and fans. So we want stuff that we want to see. Yeah, Funkos, NECA, you'll have horror, you'll have vintage, you'll have Pokemon cards, because again, the Girl Scouts, most popular vendor at all the cons, Girl Scout cookies. Whether you're a tag-along guy or a Thin Mints guy, there is something there for you.
I saw a mom and she's trying to sell the most Girl Scout cookies. I said, you got to be outside the pot stores. She goes, you have no idea how bad that's saturated right now. That's where everybody ran. I'm like, God, I thought I was like onto something here. And then I got to give a shout out to my old friend I grew up with him, Dave Santia, the speed painter, the upside down speed painter. I do. I have two of his works in my home. I have the Flash Gordon that was painted in front of Flash Gordon, signed by Flash Gordon, to the music of Flash Gordon. That was back in the old Dearborn, one of the early cons. I hustled Dennis.
What was that, Detroit Fanfare?
It was Detroit Fanfare. It went up for auction because the guy just they were raising money for the guy's family that he passed away. And Dennis Bar, I walk in with a tan sport coat and a Flash t-shirt, and this thing's on auction, and Dennis Barger hustled me, and I paid way more than I should have. But my wife looks at me. This is why I married her and stayed with her. She goes, you'll always make more money. You'll never have a moment like this again. Buy the damn thing. I'm like, so now it's in my basement with signed and everything. And then shout out to also Dirk Manning, who's the nicest human being I've ever met. We got story. It's funny because all the years of us doing this, he's the one that like always kept the band together, made sure everybody's good. He was the only one that didn't drink. The first one. As we get older now, we're all starting to catch up, not drinking. He was the one that took care of everybody. He would stay up all night, make sure everybody was good. So, sweetheart.
Yeah, Dirk has been with us since the beginning. He wrote, obviously, the Twisted Haunted Highlands comic. And Dave Santia, like, we are so lucky to have him at our show. Like, that's, again, more entertainment that no other convention can produce. He is one of a kind, in my opinion. And my wife is like, if you bring another one of these fucking paintings home, it is going to be a problem. What I do is he'll always pick like our marquee guests. And then I always want to like commemorate my accomplishments by buying his fucking paintings. So I have Kevin Smith, I have Clerks, I have Sting, and I have Corey Taylor. And then I bought Sergeant Slaughter, but I couldn't bring myself to take it home. So it's hanging up here at our office.
Oh, me and Sergeant Slaughter got beef. I was supposed to I had press passes for one of the cons he was at, and he said, "Yeah, you're gonna come over here talk to this guy." He goes, "I'll talk to anyone as long as it's not one of those goddamn podcasters." And I'm like, you dirty. I'm not gonna get your autograph now. You dead to me. Dead to me.
Oh, he's an army man.
That's fine. That's fine. I did see Demolition had to cancel. That's too bad. Hall of Fame, the new Hall of Famers. I did see. I think no, that it was your last con. Where I got them. I got a black hockey helmet signed by those two. So
We had them in June of 23 when we had to do like a halfway show.
Yep. I remember that. All right, you're gonna hate me for asking this. Is there anyone who's on the list? Like, is there someone that you're like, if I could, like, the magic wand, and maybe you give it up and tell me to shut my mouth if you don't want to go there, but like, is there
no, like I would say our top three, like, holy crap guests, like if we could book them in a heartbeat, like for the fan base, obviously I got to say Freddie Krueger, so Robert England. If we could book Robert England tomorrow, I'd make room. There's no room, but I would make room.
Does he do cons?
He does, but he's so busy and he's so intimate with the fans and takes so much time that his agent's very selective in the shows that they'll put him in. I mean, everyone under the sun on our Facebook page would say Nev Campbell, right? Yeah. That's a big one. I also, like, for us, I think Cassandra Peterson would be really cool.
Okay.
And that's, like, I guess all three of those are horror, but they're still, like, very big, heavy hitters. Nev Campbell has a lot of crossover. She's on Lincoln Lawyer right now. For me, like, if you were going, holy cow, crazy, like, it was very cool for me. Again, I'm a fan of what we do. So I met McLovin at a con. Like, I think I'd like to book him. I think that'd be cool for us.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, like, we're real cool. We got Nick Swardson coming. We've had John Lovitz was me and George's bucket list guest one year. Like, I'd love to bring in, like, Jonah Hill. Like, that would be insane to me to have him or you know. Yeah. So, I could list, like, I want to meet Leonardo DiCaprio, right? That's a cool one to me because I love Titanic. Billy Zane, you'll have to do. I wish you got a Funko Pop. But no, man, I love what we do, and I love going out there and getting guests, and it's crazy, right? Like, with vendors and even celebrities, like the people that I have to turn down once the show is booked sucks.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, hold on for next. I got to tell you, John Lovett's story. I grew up with him. He's hysterical. And this is during, like, 2021, where you couldn't fly without a mask. And that was right when I had my knee problems and I needed a wheelchair in the airport, or I was on crutches in general. And I'm wearing a pink sport coat and I'm getting pushed around the Minneapolis airport. And this guy in a mask is staring at me like I did something wrong, probably because I'm in front of the line because I'm in a wheelchair. He probably thought I was a liar. And I'm looking at his eyes and I go, I think that's John Lovett. Sure as shit, I happened to look up and he was performing at some club in Ann Arbor and he was flying to Detroit and he would not lock eyes. And then we're sitting first class and he wasn't. So as he walks by, the death stare, you would, like, I wish I could have taken a picture of how angry of a look he was giving me, staring at me. And then when I wanted to tell him the story when he was here, and I'm like, you know what, that's a horrible story. Like, you were staring at me at the airport, I would have sounded ridiculous. But you know, all these weird run-ins you have with people as you go through this. And the last shout out, we didn't even talk about the man beast Rhino is going to be in the house. I just saw him on the list. You want to talk about sweetheart human beings? He's another one. They'll talk to, I think the one year you had Sandman, Rhino, you had like a half a ECW reunion going on. And I was like, oh, this is good. I regret not bringing, I have a kendo stick signed by Sabu and Rob Van Dam. And I needed the Sandman on it and I didn't bring it. I still regret that. That was one of my regrets. Anyway.
Well, we'll have to bring them back for you, but yeah, man, we love Rhino. They're doing their Monroe wrestling stuff. I know that they've got their wrestling based show and, like, you know, convention 2-day thing or whatever in May. We love Gary. We love the Monroe Comic-Con. So to me, that's just like, again, we're so ingrained in the Michigan convention scene. Like, we will share the love or you know, the bookings or the the talent or, or the opportunities, right? So very excited for them to stop in on Sunday.
Are you going to get a, what are those things called? Mannequins, Randy? What are those called? The puppets that the comedians use? The Paul Ellering, when he had the Rocco, the puppet,
Okay.
the ventriloquist dummy. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Paul Ellering. I need to get. I was trying to find it online for a ventriloquist dummy with a leather jacket. You can't find it. He would probably look at me like I'm like my head.
He'd be like, "What are we doing here?"
He probably, it's like, yeah, it's still on video. I still did that.
You should just go all in and get the studded, pointy necklace and get some, armbands. Maybe go get the shoulder pads. Just come in like your animal. Paint your face.
Yeah. Actually, the one cosplay I've been dying to do is now that I'm bald with a gray beard, I was going to do Old Man Rex from Clone Wars. You can find the armor online. My buddy made me the pistols in his 3D printer. I haven't pulled the armor is like $700, and I have like paint it, like you have to rustic it up.
It's like your wife says, you're always going to have more money. Just do it.
I know. Then I got to walk. I know. I got to do it. But then
you can enter yourself into the cosplay contest. You could win up to $300. It pays for itself. I
do not. No, let that for the kids. I just want to, two people know who I am. That I'm fine. Who the hell are you supposed to be? Anyway, Mike, I know you guys are slammed and busy. Your cons this weekend. I can't thank you enough for spending time and telling stories or letting me tell stories. I'm more of a fanboy, I think, than anybody. But yeah, this April 10th through 12th, Ann Arbor Marriott Ypsilanti at Eagle Crest. Friday is going to be from 5 to 10, Saturday from 11 to 7, Sunday from 11 to 5. There's VIP after parties. If you haven't bought your tickets, they're still online, astronomicon.com. Mike, seriously, thank you. Sorry that Dustin had some technical difficulty. I'll bark at him at the con. So
he's all good, man. He sends his love, and thank you guys for having us. We love being here. Same time next year, boys.
I'll look forward to it, and I'll see you this weekend. Mike and Dustin, Astronomicon. We're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.